Welcome to the FitBiz Accelerator, your ultimate guide to launching, growing, and scaling a thriving online fitness business. I'm your host, Tobias Young. And whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is packed with actionable tips, real world strategies, and the insights you need to crush your business goals and build the business of your dreams. Now that you're here, let's dive in. Welcome back to the FitBiz Accelerator. This is your host, Tobias Young. And today I am excited to welcome Anne Marie Christel to the show. Anne Marie is the founder of Serene Flow, and she's a business educator, right? Who's been helping actual hairstylists. You can see I go to her. She styles my hair. Just kidding. Grow their business with sustainable principles. But her insights on client relationships and mindset and creating ease in your business are pretty much going to be universal. So whether you're a hairstylist, a fitness coach, or another type of coach, like entrepreneur, Anne Marie has been running her own business for over 26 years and has never been an employee, right? So she's also managed a successful e-commerce store. And then for the past 5 years, she's been helping service-based entrepreneurs move away from stress and build more thriving businesses on their own terms that they enjoy. So today she's going to be sharing her expertise on some key challenges that fitness coaches face, letting go of draining clients, thriving as an introverted entrepreneur. And I'm sure we have plenty of those out there. And then also reducing stress around, social media. So Anne Marie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
My pleasure. She's coming all the way from France. So moving away from draining client relationships, I guess we can start with that. So fitness coaches, they often feel stuck working with clients who drain their energy. In your opinion, how can they identify when it's time to actually let a client go?
Well, the first step really is to get an understanding of that this is a client that actually is not good for me. Sometimes it can be that you have a client that you really, really enjoy, but somewhere along the journey, something happens and you don't really know what that could be. All of a sudden, the relationship has changed. So the first step is really to get an understanding of your own warning signals. Like, what is your own warning signal? Maybe you get tired. Maybe you get annoyed when you get a message, or whatever that could be is super important for you to understand. So that is like the key elements. For some people, it can be like a physical reaction in the body. A key point to finding this is if you've had situation in your life, it doesn't mean to be in your business. It can be in your personal life as well. You probably have had some kind of indicator that this is like, oh no, this is wrong. Something is not good here. And I would write it out, like really write it out, because you get more clarity when you actually see it on paper and you let that out of your body. And the first or the other step is to actually understand, why am I feeling this? Why has this happened in this relationship? Has there been a boundary that has been crossed? Or maybe you have a new boundary, but you haven't communicated that with the client. And you are annoyed by the client because you're being triggered, but they have no idea that something has happened within you. You have changed and so on. So I'm all about you understanding, where are your boundaries, or what are they? And how are you communicating this with your clients? So let's say if we're moving into like social media, maybe you don't have a clear communication with your clients, where and how they can communicate with you.
Yeah.
And nowadays there's like a million platforms. And when someone is maybe stressed, or, they send you messages on 10 platforms and your phone goes bing, 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 bing. And for me, I always have like, people can only communicate with me through email, period. And I tell them, don't send smoke signals. Don't send me a DM. Don't message me on Facebook. If you want to reach out to me, it's email. So that there is this clear thing, and they have to respond, yes, I have gotten this information. Yes, I approve to this.
Yeah.
So that they know, okay, this is how I can reach out to Anne Marie.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that too, because one of the things that we want to start off always doing is doing our avatar work. And I know it's like fundamental type things, but you want to make sure that you train the type of clients that you love to work with and enjoy. Otherwise, you're going to have some pain in the ass clients that you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
these people are draining my energy. The second thing is just what Anne Marie was saying, is making sure that all your clients all communicate. Like if you use a training app like Trainerize or PT Distinction or whatever you use, or My Coach AI, like have all of your messaging only directly through the training platform. That way you can't have messages on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and email and text. And then you're trying to remember, who do I need to do? What do I need to follow up with? Who needs the most help? And then you might miss messages. Whereas if you only have one app to be able to check, you're going to be so much of a more effective coach. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for that. And then, letting go of a client, it can feel scary too, right? If you have a bad client, what type of mindset shifts do coaches need to like really embrace in order to make this decision a little bit easier, would you say?
I mean, it's important to understand if you continue to work with this client, let's say for 6 months, what kind of impact does that have on you? What impact would it have in a year or 2 years? And what impact does it have on you, and how do you maybe show up in your private life or with your other clients because you have taken care of this client and this client is having a negative impact on you? And the clearer you understand that, usually the drainage, the irritation will be build and build and build and build to extreme. And let's say that you start to argue with your partner or with your children because of the reaction from the client, then you're pestering your whole life. So what impact does this client have? And think about it. If you wouldn't have that type of energy draining you, is it every day or every week or every month, depending on how often you train with these people, could be possible if you shifted that negative energy into something that actually would lift you up.
Yes.
And what could be possible then in your life instead? What better trainer could you be if you just have your ideal clients or your dream clients, that I call them, that you are helping and elevating and lifting up?
Addition by subtraction. So
Yeah.
getting rid of the cancers that are just like negative all the time. And, you're just like, oh my gosh, this client, I do not want to be able to train. Usually coaches do it because it's like for finances, right? They're like, they don't normally take on this type of client, but they'll do it because they're trying to make money. But that can actually have a negative effect where your energy actually becomes bad and it's contagious to everybody else, especially if you have a group coaching model and you have somebody that's a negative in the group. That can be a cancer to the
Yeah.
rest of the group. So can you share an example of how letting go of a difficult client can actually open doors for better opportunities?
Do you mean like how you would actually let go of someone, or?
Just an example. I don't know if it's happened to you where you were just like, man, as soon as I let go of this client I had, her name was Sheila, or, his name was Tom, or whatever, the client's name is. As soon as you let them go, like, my God, like 3, 4, 5 clients ended up coming to me because it was my energy that, just started radiating with positive.
I've had that happen in many different areas of my life, where I actually had clients that have been super, super draining. There's been points in my business where, you just take on anyone because you need to feed yourself and pay
Yeah.
the bills and all of that. But I've done a few pivots in my life, and I've noticed as well, when I've done pivots and removed clients and maybe taken a new direction, elevating my pricing and so on, it sometimes has four doubled my income, just because I'm happier, I'm more joyous, I have another energy. And I believe that if you can have a more positive mindset, a higher vibration, then you will attract more of that into your life. And that has a ripple effect on everything in your life, your health, your finances, and everything. I've had situations where I was expecting some money from one area of my life and it didn't happen. There was a lot of fights around an inheritance. And I decided that I didn't want to go into conflict. I didn't want to go into having this forced energy. And I believe that I will be supported. So I just signed off the papers, said goodbye to that money. I didn't go into a fight. And within 2 days, the double amount of money came back in taxes.
Yeah, it's weird how that happens, that
Yeah.
whole law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
I was just talking to another podcast guest, Josh, about that kind of thing in there too. And a lot of fitness coaches, they feel obligated to keep clients even if they're unhappy. But you got to think about those things too, like you were saying. Then if you're unhappy, you're going to bottle it up and it's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect stress. You're going to lose your hair. You're going to look like Tobias. Just kidding. It's going to affect your workouts. It's going to affect everything else. But if you have your dream clients, you're going to feel on top of the world, especially how you said about the pricing. I really like that part. So with the pricing, if you're always trying to go cheap and take on anybody, you're going to get a bunch of headache clients. The moment you really narrow down, really become that specialist, elevate your pricing to your standards, you're going to start to attract those people that are really, really invested in getting the help. And those people are going to be your best clients. And usually the ones that pay the most are the ones that are the least headache and they have the least amount of like stuff. You just like guide them through the process and they're like, okay, let's do it. It's the ones that are after cheap are always going to be looking for cheap. And those are the ones that are always going to be
Yeah. And I don't know how these, the people listening to the podcast, how they are charging, but I'm all about coming from the hair industry of taking a deposit when people like book, even when they book a discovery call or like something like that, because people are so flaky nowadays. They're not 100% invested. They're always like all the doors are open. So what I do is I have people, they like to be able to book something with me. They have to pay something up front. And if they don't show, they won't get that money back. And that is also something that will allow you to have people respect your time.
Yeah, I like that.
And especially online, because it's such a distance from people to, they don't like, you're just this figure out there. They probably won't ever see you, so they can book an appointment and not show up, and that could be really annoying. So that's
Yeah.
something that I really recommend, having some kind of system into place.
I know someone who does that. He actually charges, I think it's like $500. And what he'll do is he'll do the whole game plan, set you on exactly what you need to be doing. And then if you want to work with him, then he'll map that money over if you want to work with him on like a one-to-one basis, which is cool. But then you'll always get the people that show up and you're going to get the people that are super dedicated and you're going to give a lot. Like you might give a 1 to 2 hour like deep dive into their life, into their lifestyle, into what they're doing wrong, where they need help, what are the bottlenecks, start to work on some solutions for them. And then switching gears too, because I know you said you were introverted. A lot of fitness coaches actually identify as introverts. So how can they use their introversion as a strength in their business?
So what I've learned from myself and what I have experienced from other people that are introverted is that I think we have another type of ability to actually listen before we speak and to actually feel the room before we do something. And that is something that I think is really, really helpful when you are working with people in general. And to see who is this person that is reaching out and wants to help from me, and how can I support them in the best possible way, and really focus on that and see, are they a good fit for you?
Mm-hmm.
And a big recommendation I have for you as well is to understand, as an introvert, if you're doing big group classes or with a lot of people online, what do you need to do afterwards to lift yourself up and have more energy, because it can be draining to be in a big group setting, and it can take a lot from you.
Yeah. Like networking, right? Networking events and those kind of things can feel really overwhelming for a lot of introverts. So, what tips do you have for building authentic connections without feeling that burnout?
What I do is I always look at, okay, so this week I just moved to France and I was invited to actually a women's entrepreneur business event. And I got to know it the evening before. And I was just like, I'm not going. This is not going to work, because I hadn't put that mindset into that I'm going to do this. But I told my husband, like, okay, tonight I will just be alone in the bedroom and I won't hang out with you, just so that I can actually do this tomorrow morning. And he was like pushing me, like, it's really good if you go. And because there was a room full of 40 people and I didn't know anyone. And that could be super scary for me. But I decided, okay, I will drive with my car by myself for the first time to this place and do this anyway. And I prepared myself in the morning. I did some visualization, I did some meditation, just to calm myself down. And I decided, okay, if this is not for me, because this is a group that meets up every month, I don't have to go back. Like, it's okay. And I didn't put so much pressure on myself.
Hmm.
But I was surprised how open and loving all of them were.
Yeah.
And it was just, that awkward feeling. You're walking up the door, you don't know who to ask for, you don't know, like, but everyone was like, are you the new girl? Like, hi, I'm from blah, blah. And everyone was very, very inviting. And it was a very non judgmental energy.
Yeah.
And all of these people have all moved from different countries to the south of France and are entrepreneurs. So all of them are in the same situation. So it was a very good feeling of being there.
Good.
And afterwards, I was talking with a friend in Sweden, and he's like, so how drained were you? I'm like, no, it was not like that at all. So I think I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I just allowed myself to have fun.
Yeah.
And that was what ended up happening.
That's awesome. And it can be uplifting too when you feel the energy and you just have to feel comfortable. I also want to transition to social media because obviously there's stress around social media, there's overwhelm. And I want coaches to say goodbye to the stress around social media. So it's very overwhelming. Many fitness coaches stress over it. So, what's your advice for reducing the pressure to always be on?
So, first thing, a lot of people have this idea that everything has to happen in real time. And this goes back to from the beginning of social media, that most things were in real time because it was fun, it was new, blah, 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 blah. And we didn't know what kind of impact it would have later on in our lives. So for me, what I teach is to make a plan. Either you plan out a week's content ahead of time,
Mm-hmm.
or 1 month's content, depending on how structured you are, or in what way what works for you. And what I do is I actually create all the reels for 1 week. I have them in drafts. I save them down so I can upload different things to different platforms and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one time per day where I go in and comment on everything, usually one time in the morning. Then I
Nice.
post something around 4 o'clock on social media, and then I go in and respond to everything else, and then I let it go.
Yes.
And I'm not allowed to be on there otherwise. Sometimes I slip in. Of course, I'm not perfect, but I have the intention that I'm not going to be on social media and end up scrolling and wasting my time, because I see social media as a tool. And if you are a person that feels overwhelmed at this very moment, my best recommendation is to question, what do you have on notifications on your phone, on your computer, all digital devices, and what do you really need to have on notifications? So I only have my if my phone rings, I hear that. I don't have any notifications on anything because it doesn't pull my attention. Let's say I'm writing an email and having, a pling, ding, ding, things happening, distracting me, because I can be scattered because I love creating a million things. And my thing has been the past like 2 years is like, how can I find my focus and not be pulled in so many different directions? So that is the thing that I highly recommend. For a while, my husband, he also turned off all of the notifications he had on his phone. And a few weeks ago, he put them on again. And I got stressed. Like, aren't you going to look at that? So I understood how that impacted me as well.
So turn off your notifications, everybody, right? Because it'll help you out. And then batch, the time that you're on social media. So that's one thing that I always love to go over with the coaches is actually just having specific blocks of time where you just dive in. Maybe it's 90 minutes and you knock out all your DMs and, catch up on everybody. And then create your content. If you guys need like a formula for creating amazing content, just comment weekly content machine down below and I'll shoot you my whole content machine framework, which makes it simple and you're able to attract a lot of leads in there. But what's your perspective on balancing social media with building real relationships actually offline?
I think both things are important. And one thing that I try to do with people, with friends, family members, and then clients as well when I meet them in real life, is try to not have the digital devices in the same room as you are hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Because nowadays we are being pulled in many different directions, and having real, honest conversations with someone in the room. And so I was working as a hairstylist until September this year, or last year, sorry, it's a new year. and I noticed as well those relationships that we build when we are actually in a room and being one-on-one with someone is nowadays people are craving that, and people really want to be seen and heard, because after the pandemic people have changed and we have become so used to that we can rely on the internet for social interaction. And I love using internet to be able to have these conversations and to share things, and I can help my clients and so on. But we cannot forget the real relationships that we can have with people in the same room, because it also has a really good health benefit to us. And that is one of the things that people actually say helps us getting older. If you have a friend or a client that is consistently on their phone while you are working or whatever it is that you're doing together, my recommendation is to invite them to see like, hey, what would this conversation be if we just could let go of the devices? Can we leave it in the next room so that we can have us time? And that creates so much change for people, because it has become this security blanket. Because if it all of a sudden it's quiet, you just do the scroll.
Yeah. It's easier. Even my kids and my wife, we have a time in the evenings when it's evening time, devices go away. Like, because otherwise my girls will just be on their devices at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah, really important. And then you emphasize mindset and you emphasize mental health in your work. So why do you think they are so essential for fitness coaches?
It's because where you are in your energy, where you are with what it is that's going on in your head, has a direct impact on your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you maybe believe that you're not worthy of your business, or if you don't believe that I'm not good enough, then there's a direct correlation to what is actually going to come into your life or get away. Because your own mindset will send out a signal, people will feel it, and that is like this invisible thing that goes on that has an impact on everything around you. And if you feel that maybe you are depressed, or that you don't have the right mindset, or if you're stuck in a rut, if you want to have change. And I'm probably not the first person or the last persons that are going to say that real change is super hard. It's not going to be easy. If you want something new in your life, you will have to challenge yourself.
Mhm.
Like what I had to do this week. Me and my husband moved to France. We don't know anyone here. And I have to reach out and go to events and try to find my new people. Yes, I was scared. Yes, I did want to turn back around and go home to my safe little house. But I met some amazing people, and it actually made me see that something new is possible.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, if I get scared of something, I'll have to do it nowadays, because I
Yeah.
know that there is some golden things that is beyond that fear. And usually there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just like this idea that we have put in our minds.
Yes, it's just that imposter syndrome. And every coach starts out, especially in the very beginning, with imposter syndrome. What's your go-to mindset tip for staying calm and confident when business challenges start to come up? Like, to avoid getting all stressed out. What are some like just relaxation techniques or something that you do, or something that you would tell them to do?
I do different meditation and breathwork practices that actually helps me to stay focused, and also always coming back almost every single day to why are you doing this and who it is that you're helping,
Mm-hmm.
and coming back to that and remember that that is your main focus and everything is built around that.
That's the thing too, on why it's so beneficial to have an online business, to be an entrepreneur, to own your own business, because a lot of the online coaches that are out there now, they used to, most coaches started off as a personal trainer, and you get used to that hourly mindset where you're just like, okay, well, I can only, make this amount of money each hour. And then I train 6 clients or 8 clients. And that's like the most that I can make. Where when they come online, they still have like that hourly mindset, and we have to like transition. And they're like, well, I'm only going to charge $75 a month for my online coaching because it would only take me so many hours. I said, no, you charge based on the result that you give the client, right? Some clients would pay a lot more for that, and you want to value your time just because it doesn't physically take you all these hours. The other problem that I see a lot of online fitness coaches doing is they have an online business where the client goes through the training app and does all that stuff, and the client's doing the check-ins and those things, but then they're giving them all these different hours. So I'll give you, 3 additional hours per week, or an hour per week. We'll have a check-in. Da, 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 da. Clients don't need to have an hour-long check-in every single week, when they would actually prefer it to be shorter. If you can get the result and find out what's working, what's not working, okay, here's the next steps that we're going to change for the week. If you can do that in 10 to 15 minutes, that's going to be way more valuable than sitting there thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about for an hour? Because now they're going to feel like their time is being wasted, especially everybody's busy these days. So I love that. Anne Marie, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for jamming with me. And everybody else out there, if you got value, go ahead and give me a like and a follow so you can get more of this exclusive content. Have an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in to the FitBiz Accelerator. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a tip or strategy to grow your online fitness business. And if you're ready to fast track your success, don't forget to check out tntfitprocoaching.com. Until next time, stay consistent, stay focused, and keep crushing it.